It's Friday night, how I'm longing for this day. Yes, I'm single, oh, we won't do it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Single Mother by Choice. My name is Martine, and today I'm going to share with you my 9 to 13 week pregnancy update. Let's just get into it. All right, so I've been away for a while for several reasons, which I'll get into later, but I'm happy to be back to share my journey thus far, and I really appreciate comments on my Instagram, just like wishing me well and hoping that I get back on here to share with you any progress that's going on with me. So let's not waste any time. Let's get into it. So for my 9 to 13 week update, I can share with you that I had a bit of a scare. So I don't know if you remember, but in my last video, I shared a story about how I was walking to work from the train station, and it was a bit slushy or snowy, and I slipped and I fell. Not hard, but still, being a first-time mom and, just, you worry about everything, right? Like, you worry about what you're eating, what you're doing, but especially when you fall, like, that can be kind of scary. And of course, afterwards, I took like a million pregnancy tests. I'm like, oh my God, am I okay? But anyway, going into my 9th week, I one morning woke up, and at that point I was still using the endometrium suppositories. So I was doing that, I believe. At that point so my doctor, just to go back a little bit, my reproductive endocrinologist had put me on endometrium 3 times a day, and he gave me like a schedule to slowly reduce the amount that I was taking every week, just so I can wean myself off of it, right? But at 9 weeks, I was taking, at that point, 2 suppositories a day. And I noticed one morning when I was inserting the suppository, when I pulled out the applicator, there was a little bit of like pinkish color to it. And that never happened before. TMI, sorry. But that never happened before. And so I then wiped afterwards, and then I saw again, like there was this like peachy pinkish color. And I thought, okay, like maybe I hurt myself using the applicator or whatnot. But I continued to check periodically, and I noticed that I was like a little bit bloody. Not red, but just like that pink color. But then it stopped in the afternoon. But the following morning, it happened again. And at that point, I was at work, and one of my coworkers who was pregnant around the same time as me, like we were going to be due around the same time, she mentioned that she also was starting to have like some spotting, and her doctor had put her on endometrium to try to stop it. And so I thought, maybe I should go back to the 300 for a little while, because that really scared me. But then I also panicked. I'm like, oh my gosh, what if something's wrong? Because whenever you see like blood, you start to worry. And so immediately the second morning I called, was it the second morning? Maybe it was the first morning, because I panicked. I called, at that time I hadn't seen my high risk OB yet. I had made that appointment for later, so I called the midwife's office and said, please, can you see me? I'm really worried about this. So I said, yes, the earliest we can see you is like tomorrow morning. So I went in, thank God, like we did the ultrasound. The baby's heartbeat was like very strong. I think it was like at 100, and at that point, because it was still early, so their heartbeat is a lot faster, but it was like 184 beats per minute. And like I got to see the baby, and they were progressing really well. So the midwife essentially said, listen, this can happen sometimes. Are you experiencing any other symptoms? And at that point I really wasn't. So they said, just keep an eye out on it, let us know if there's any cramping accompanied with it, or if it gets if the spotting gets worse. But anyway, so that second day, also when I went, or the following day or whatever, I went to work and I saw the coworker, and I decided, like, let me go back and take like the 300 again for like an extra week. And so I just prolonged weaning myself off of the endometrium. I don't know if that was right or wrong, but I just felt like it helped me because the minute I started taking 300 again, the spotting stopped. So I just thought, okay, maybe my body just needed that for a little bit longer. So that was my scare. And I really started to think like, oh my gosh, did the fall do something? Did it shake something up down there? But the midwife was like, listen, the position that this baby is in right now, they're so like nestled down there between like, I guess your pubic bone or whatever and your uterus. Like it would take a much harder fall or a more traumatic experience for there to be something wrong. So they weren't really like worried. And again, after I took the endometrium, I just felt a lot better. So that was good. And then let's think. So the following week at 10 weeks, I'm trying to remember everything. I took some notes, but still. At 10 weeks, I then had the NIT, and I think that was just to check for any kind of genetic issues. So they basically do it. It's a long ultrasound. And it's kind of nerve-wracking, by the way, because even though the technician was really nice and he was speaking to me throughout, just trying to explain what was going on and what they were doing, and they explained even from the beginning, like it may take a while because they have to measure this part of like, this part behind the baby's neck. Like there's this area where there's a bit of fluid, and so they have to measure that area, but it can be really hard depending on how the baby is positioned. And so a couple of times I had to like move and turn to try to get the baby to move around. And then I even had to go like empty my bladder because they were like, well, maybe that'll help. But none of it helped. Baby was like, listen, I'm really comfortable in this position and you're not going to move me. But I did get to see it move. So I was so excited. It was like hopping around. It was so cute. But anyway, it still concerned me that it was taking a long time. And then they don't really say anything when they're doing the measurement. So I'm like, is it normal? Is it not normal? And I guess they're not really supposed to say at that point because besides the ultrasound with this test, this I think it's neural tube exam, I had to also have a blood test with it, and then they do some sort of like calculation to figure out, between the measurement from the ultrasound and the blood work, they do some sort of formula calculation to determine if there's a possibility that the baby may have like Down syndrome or some other like chromosomal problem. And I think on top of it, I had mentioned, did I mention? Maybe not. But during that time also, maybe a few days before the ultrasound appointment, I also had to get blood work done to basically do genetic testing. So apparently the baby's DNA is like floating around in my bloodstream. So they were able to take like blood from me and test the baby again for any chromosomal issues. So thank the Lord, those results came back and everything so far looks good. So baby is healthy, no genetic issues that they can tell. And I also was able to find out the sex of the baby, but I'm not going to share that now. So I do know the sex of my baby. I got to find out really early on, again, because of that genetic test that they did through the blood work. So I do know what I'm having. I'm so excited. I guess all I can say is it wasn't what I was expecting. But I'll share that in a different video. But in terms of how I was feeling, my mood, I was becoming less and less cranky. I don't know if you remember from my last video, but I was, pardon my language, but I was a bitch on wheels. And like, even if I wasn't outwardly showing that, I was definitely feeling it. And everything really pissed me off and aggravated me. I almost got into like, I don't know. Well, I didn't get into a verbal altercation, but basically I was like cursing people out in the street for honking too much. And like as I was walking, some guy was honking like crazy, and I basically was like, shut the ass up, you freaking lunatic, and I could have gotten hurt, but I couldn't help it because every little thing was just driving me crazy. And because I work in a school, I try to exert, obviously I exert a lot of patience, and you can't act a certain way. So by the time I leave work, I'm just like, I was raging. But at that point, from the 9 to 13 week period, my hormones were just slowly cooling off, and thank God I was becoming more and more normal and less cranky. But I was still, like I said, anxious because waiting for those results was anxiety provoking, and just the fall with, followed up by the bleeding or just the spotting. That produced anxiety for me, but just generally I was happier. Cravings. So in the beginning, I definitely, the first few weeks, I didn't crave anything. I was just eating normally and it was fine. I didn't have any food aversions or anything. But the 9 to 13 week period, that just completely changed. It's almost like overnight. If anyone mentioned any kind of food to me, suddenly I'm like, wow, that sounds really amazing and I have to have it right now. So some of the things I really wanted in the beginning, especially, I was craving, I'm Haitian, so I was craving comfort food, Haitian comfort food. So every time I just thought about it, I'm like, wow, that sounds really good. And so my mom took it upon herself to make food for me, and my family gave me, there's this thing called pickles. So it's basically these pickled vegetables, but with these hot peppers in there. And then you can add it to your food. You can add it to your meat or your rice or whatever. And I was craving that. So my cousin's wife gave me a huge jar of that to take home with me. I just mentioned stuff. I felt like someone who had a magic genie next to me because whenever I was like, I wish for this, and then suddenly, not that I would ask people to do it for me. I didn't ask people to give me food or buy me food or anything, but I would just think about it and say it out loud, and then suddenly, poof, it would just magically appear, which was really nice. People have been really kind and caring and just, thoughtful with me being pregnant. So definitely Haitian food was the biggest thing for a while. But then after that, I was like, nope, done, don't want it anymore. And then I was craving things like spicy food, burgers, and at some point, weirdly enough, popcorn, that none of them last for long. So a lot of times once I had eaten that food and I had satisfied that craving, I no longer wanted it. And I actually was turned off a little bit by it. So even now, I don't want any of the foods that I mentioned really, except for maybe once in a while, the popcorn. So now I actually have some food aversions where I used to love eating, yogurt and things like that. But lately, more and more, I'm just really turned off by that. I feel more and more, I'm just not really wanting certain foods. I used to have a smoothie every morning. Now I'm kind of don't want it. I'm eating more and more protein foods. That's what my body is wanting. So lately, especially, I've been wanting at home, I'll make, because I'm gluten-free, so I can't eat bread, breads from the outside. I have to buy special bread, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so I'll get these ciabatta breads or a bagel, gluten-free bagel or something. And I'll make my own bacon, egg, and cheese, or not even bacon, but sausage, egg, and cheese. And that's what I've been wanting every morning for the past couple of weeks, actually. That's what's been satisfying me. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it for the 9 to 13 week. Again, I'm really excited. I'll be sharing the sex or the gender of the baby in another video, but I'm not sure how I want to share it. So if you have any ideas, I'd love to hear from you, how I should reveal. I don't really like big to-do gender reveals. I'm very simple and basic. Even with, I've been talking with my mom and some people about a baby shower. And they're like, oh, so what do you want? What theme do you want? I'm like, theme? I kind of don't care. Like, can I just have just a regular party? I want, men and women, like I want a co-ed kind of thing. And I don't want it to be like, I don't want to be the center of attention. I just want people to be there, like enjoying each other's company, having fun. I also don't want to be sitting there opening up like gifts for the next 2 hours. I told my mom, I honestly just would rather enjoy my guests, talk to people, hang out with people, but I legitimately do not want to sit there with everyone staring at me, opening up gifts for 2 hours. That is the least interesting thing. And even for me, when I go to baby showers, I find that to be the most annoying, boring thing. I don't want games at my party. I find them stupid. I'm like one of those people. I find them dumb. I find them boring. We are adults. Can we have some, like, obviously I can't drink, but can we have some cocktails and mocktails? Can we socialize? Can we have some good music on? Can we just make it like a celebratory occasion without me sitting there like a clown in a chair, like opening up the gifts, and everybody goes, oh, interesting, when really it's whatever. Unless it's your gift that's up that I'm opening, it's kind of not that interesting to anybody, in my opinion. Maybe you like it. I hate it. I hate baby showers. I hate bridal showers. I just find them boring a lot of times. I'd rather be like talking and socializing and moving around rather than just sitting there. But anyway, I could go on and on about this. But everyone's resistant. They're like, no, you have to. I'm like, then I won't have a party. Like, I won't have a party. If you're telling me that I'm going to have a party, but I can't have it my way, I'd rather not have it at all. That's all I have to say about that. Anyway, cranky, I guess, still. But that's just not my style. If it's your style, that's cool, but it's really not interesting to me whatsoever. Anyway, so that's it for now. I'm done rambling. Thank you again for all your well wishes. I will get into a future video about my being sick and why I've been out for a while. So I'll see you next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Stepping out, it's Friday night.